In a world where everyone wants attention, very few women carry the power that demands respect. Anyone can be attractive, but only a high value woman is unforgettable. We live in a time where comparison is constant, validation is temporary, and self worth is confused with social popularity. Many women are told to fit into society's expectations, to talk a certain way, act a certain way, look a certain way, and sometimes even lower their standards just to be accepted or loved. But here's the truth: a high value woman is not shaped by society. She is shaped by self awareness, dignity, and inner alignment with God's wisdom. A high value woman does not chase love. She attracts the love that matches her standards. A high value woman does not fear walking alone, because she knows the right people always meet her on the right path. Today, we are not talking about being perfect. We are talking about being aware, intentional, and aligned with your worth. Because when a woman remembers who she truly is, not from ego, but from inner truth, a high value woman knows her worth. Not because someone reminded her, praised her, or admired her, but because she has taken the time to understand herself deeply. She has walked through disappointments, survived heartbreaks, outgrown chaos, and learned that her value is far greater than how others perceive her. She is not searching outside for who she is. She recognizes that everything she needs is already within her. Imagine a diamond. When it is unpolished, it may look simple, even ordinary. But when crafted carefully, refined with patience and pressure, it becomes priceless. That is how a high value woman views herself. She understands that her past mistakes do not define her insecurities do not diminish her, and the opinions of others do not shape her identity. She rises above judgment because she knows her worth is rooted in something deeper than external approval. So many people today measure their value by how many likes they get, what others think of them, or whether someone chooses them. But a high value woman reminds herself, my worth is not up for negotiation. She doesn't chase love because she knows love that requires her to shrink is not love, it's dependency. She doesn't follow trends blindly because she understands style fades, but authenticity never goes out of fashion. One everyday example is this. Think about a sale in a store. The items put on a clearance rack attract crowds. People rush, grab, argue, bargain. But the most expensive items are placed in glass cases. Not everyone can access them. There is no rush, no chaos, no bargaining, because their value is already established. They are admired from a distance. They are handled with care. They are chosen thoughtfully. A high value woman lives like that, not in arrogance but in dignity. Another example, consider friendships. A person who does not know their worth will allow people to treat them casually. They will tolerate disrespect, broken promises, and energy that drains them. They will continue to give, even when nothing is returned. But a high value woman understands the difference between patience and self-disrespect. She gives love freely, but not at the cost of her peace. She forgives, but she doesn't allow repeated disrespect. She understands loyalty does not mean tolerating what harms her. She is soft, but not weak, gentle, but not fragile, kind, but not naive. Her worth gives her clarity. She sees the world differently, not through fear, but through wisdom. She doesn't need loudness to prove confidence. She doesn't need validation to feel beautiful. She doesn't need attention to feel seen, because she sees herself. She honors her mind, her emotions, her boundaries, and her dreams. She knows her worth in the way she walks away from situations that no longer align with her growth. She knows her worth in the way she speaks to herself, with kindness instead of criticism. She knows her worth in the way she chooses peace over drama, self-respect over approval, and patience over desperation. People may misunderstand her. Some may call her too picky, too serious, or too independent. But she smiles not out of ego but out of understanding, because she knows people who are not aligned with themselves will always struggle to understand someone who is. And one day, when she meets someone, whether a friend, a partner, or a mentor, who recognizes her value, they will not ask her to dim her light. They will stand beside her, proud of her strength, respectful of her journey, and appreciative of her standards. Until then, she does not sit and wait. She builds, she learns, she evolves. She invests in her character, her health, her skills, her peace. She nourishes her soul with wisdom, surrounds herself with people who uplift her, and chooses decisions that honor her future self. Every morning when she wakes up, she reminds herself, I am worthy, not because of what I gain, but because of who I am becoming. And each day, she becomes a little wiser, a little stronger, a little more aligned with her highest self. A high-value woman does not seek to be better than others. She seeks to be better than the woman she was yesterday, because she knows her worth is her foundation, her standards are her boundaries, her growth is her responsibility, and her life unfolds beautifully when she refuses to settle for anything less than what aligns with her truth. Emotional maturity is one of the most powerful qualities a woman can hold, and it is something that can't be bought, copied, or borrowed. It must be earned through experience, reflection, and wisdom. A high-value woman doesn't react impulsively. She responds with understanding and grace. She has learned that not every situation needs her energy, not every comment deserves her attention, and not every conflict requires her involvement. She understands that peace is a priceless treasure, and protecting it is a form of self-respect. Think of a cup filled to the top. When someone bumps it, whatever is inside spills out. If the cup holds sweet water, sweetness pours out. If it holds bitterness, bitterness spills. Emotional maturity works the same way. When life shakes us, and it will, what spills out reveals what we hold inside. A high-value woman fills her inner world with patience, understanding, and clarity, not anger and insecurity. So even when someone provokes her, she responds calmly, not because she is weak, but because she refuses to let temporary emotions destroy long-term peace. We see emotional maturity in simple, everyday situations. For example, when someone speaks disrespectfully or criticizes her, she doesn't fire back instantly. Many people respond in anger because their ego feels threatened. But a high-value woman pauses. She breathes. She evaluates. She asks herself, is this worth my peace? Is this person speaking from truth or from their own pain? If someone is projecting their insecurities, she doesn't take it personally. Instead, she silently lets it pass like a wave that never reaches the shore. Another powerful example is communication in relationships. An emotionally immature person plays games, avoids conversations, or uses silence as punishment. But a woman with emotional maturity believes in clarity. She values honest conversations over assumptions. She expresses her feelings without fear and listens without interruption. She knows communication isn't about winning. It's about understanding. Instead of reacting from emotion, she responds from awareness. This makes her presence calming rather than chaotic, strong rather than defensive. Emotional maturity also shows in how she handles her own feelings. She doesn't run away from sadness, anger, or disappointment. She allows herself to feel, but she doesn't let those emotions control her decisions. She understands that feelings are temporary guests. They come, they stay for a while, and then they leave. So instead of drowning in them, she observes them. She learns from them. She grows through them. Consider a situation many people face rejection. Some crumble. Some blame the world. Some chase the person who walked away. But a mature woman accepts that rejection isn't always loss. Sometimes it is protection or redirection. Instead of asking, why me? She asks, "What is this teaching me?" She uses every challenge to evolve, not collapse. Another beautiful sign of emotional maturity is the ability to let go, not because she stopped caring, but because she values herself enough to release what doesn't align with her peace. She doesn't hold grudges or carry resentment. She forgives, not for others, but for her own freedom. She understands that holding on to anger only burns her, not the other person. You'll notice emotional maturity in how she treats others as well. She doesn't gossip. She doesn't compare. She doesn't celebrate someone else's failure. Instead, she applauds progress, hers and others. She understands that everyone is on their own journey, and comparison is the thief of joy. She chooses compassion over judgment because she knows everyone is fighting silent battles the world can't see. When life tests her, which it will, she doesn't collapse at the first sign of difficulty. She may cry, she may feel overwhelmed, but she moves forward with patience. She understands that growth requires discomfort, and resilience is built through adversity. Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," she reminds herself, "I can learn from this." And slowly, she becomes a woman who radiates stability. Not because her life is perfect, but because her inner world is grounded. People feel safe around her because she chooses presence over panic, understanding over accusation, and calm over chaos. Her energy speaks before she does. Her presence teaches without words. A high value woman with emotional maturity is not cold or detached. She feels deeply, but she chooses wisely. She knows that reacting is easy, but responding requires strength. And that strength does not come from ego, but from wisdom. At the end of the day, emotional maturity is not about avoiding emotions. It's about mastering them. It's knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to walk away and when to hold on, when to fight and when to let peace win. She carries this wisdom with grace, and because of it, she becomes unshakable, not untouched by life but unmoved by drama. She becomes a woman who doesn't just live, but inspires. A woman with true value understands the importance of boundaries, not as walls to keep people out, but as gates that decide what energy is allowed in. She knows that love without boundaries turns into sacrifice, and kindness without limits turns into exhaustion. She isn't rude, arrogant, or distant. She is simply aware of her worth and refuses to allow disrespect, chaos, or inconsistency to enter her life. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about protecting your peace. They are a silent declaration that says, "I respect myself enough to choose what I allow." A high value woman does not apologize for having standards, and she does not fear losing people who are not aligned with her values. Imagine a beautifully maintained garden. There is a fence, not to hide it, but to protect it. Flowers grow there because the space is cared for. If there were no boundaries, anyone could walk through it, trample the plants, or leave damage behind. The fence does not stop appreciation, it prevents destruction. Similarly, a high value woman's boundaries protect her inner world, her time, her energy, her dignity, and her emotional stability. In daily life, boundaries appear in small but powerful ways. For example, when someone speaks disrespectfully, a high value woman does not respond with anger or argue endlessly. She simply states what is acceptable and what is not. If the behavior continues, she doesn't repeat herself, she adjusts her distance. She believes that people learn how to treat her based on what she tolerates. Another example is time. Many people allow others to interrupt, demand instant responses, or drain their day with pointless conversations. But a woman with boundaries values her time because she values her purpose. If someone tries to monopolize her schedule or take advantage of her efforts, she firmly and politely lets them know where the line is. She understands that no is a complete sentence, It doesn't need an explanation or justification. Boundaries also apply in relationships. A high value woman does not accept half hearted effort, mixed signals, or emotional games. She desires clarity, respect, and mutual commitment. If someone treats her like an option, she removes herself from their life, not out of ego, but out of self love. She does not beg for attention, chase validation, or compromise her principles to be chosen. She knows the right connections will respect her standards. In friendships, her boundaries look like honesty and mutual respect. If someone constantly complains, drains her energy, or spreads negativity, she distances herself, not because she lacks compassion, but because she refuses to lose herself while helping others. She chooses supportive, uplifting company, not because she is selective out of pride, but because she understands that the energy around her influences who she becomes. One common misunderstanding about boundaries is that they make a person hard or difficult. But the truth is, a woman without boundaries is more likely to experience resentment, burnout, and emotional harm. A high value woman knows that protecting her peace is not selfish. It's essential. She gives with love, but not at the expense of her well being. She listens, helps, and supports, but she also knows when to step back. She is kind, but she isn't a doormat. She is forgiving, but she isn't foolish. She is open hearted, but she isn't accessible to everyone. She has learned the art of balance, when to let someone in and when to walk away. Boundaries also strengthen self respect. Every time she says no to something that disrespects her values, she says yes to herself. Every time she walks away from toxicity, she walks toward peace. Every time she chooses silence over unnecessary confrontation, she chooses maturity over chaos. A high value woman does not set boundaries to punish others. She sets them to protect her growth, her emotional stability, and her inner alignment. She knows that not everyone deserves access to her. Not every situation deserves her reaction. Not every connection deserves a permanent place in her life. She doesn't fear losing people because she knows the ones meant for her will never put her in a position where she must sacrifice her worth to be loved. And so she continues her journey with grace, strong yet gentle, firm yet compassionate, grounded yet open hearted. Some will misunderstand her, some will be intimidated by her standards, but the right people, the people who are capable of respect, honesty, and depth, will recognize her boundaries not as restrictions, but as proof of her wisdom and value. Because a high value woman knows this simple truth. A high value woman invests in her growth, not just externally in appearance or achievements, but internally in wisdom, character, and self awareness. She understands that becoming the best version of herself is not a destination, but a lifelong journey. She isn't focused solely on looking impressive. She is committed to being impressive in her mindset, her habits, her peace, and her presence. Growth requires effort, patience, and discipline. And she understands this deeply. She does not wake up every day waiting for motivation. She builds routines that support her evolution. Whether it's reading something meaningful, learning new skills, practicing gratitude, or understanding her own emotions, she invests time in becoming better. Think about technology. A phone becomes outdated if it is never updated. Apps malfunction, the system slows down, features stop working. Growth in life is similar if we don't update ourselves. Through learning, reflection, and change, we stay stuck in old patterns and life becomes repetitive. A high value woman refuses to live on old versions of herself. She intentionally evolves. In daily life, this can be seen in how she responds to challenges. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" she shifts her perspective and asks, "What can this teach me?" She understands that every situation offers wisdom. Whether it's failure, heartbreak, disappointment, or change, She extracts meaning from it. She doesn't view obstacles as barriers. She sees them as stepping stones for growth. She also understands the value of learning, not for society's approval, but for her personal expansion. She reads books that nourish her mind, listens to wise perspectives, and learns from those who inspire her. She isn't afraid of not knowing something. She is afraid of staying the same. Instead of protecting her ego, she protects her potential. When she encounters something new, she chooses curiosity instead of resistance. Growth also requires letting go, and she is brave enough to release habits, environments, and even people who limit her progress. She knows that not everything that feels familiar is good for her. Sometimes comfort is the biggest enemy of transformation. So she chooses growth even when it feels uncomfortable, because she understands that her future self deserves it. One powerful example appears in relationships. Instead of saying, "That person hurt me, they are wrong," she goes deeper and reflects, "What did I allow? What patterns repeated? What boundaries were missing?" She takes accountability, not to blame herself, but to empower herself. A woman committed to growth does not repeat cycles. She heals them. She also invests in her skills. Whether it's communication, finances, health, creativity, leadership, or emotional intelligence, she continually improves. She knows that knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. She practices what she learns. Even in very ordinary routines, growth reveals itself. While many people scroll mindlessly, complain about their life, or blame luck, she uses her time wisely. She may wake up earlier to reflect, journal, meditate, exercise, or plan, not because someone forced her, but because she honors her own evolution. She also surrounds herself with people who inspire growth, not those who gossip, compare, or tear others down, but those who think deeply, dream boldly, and act responsibly. She understands that environment shapes energy. If the people around her don't support growth, she doesn't argue, she simply distances herself. She chooses quality connections over quantity. Growth doesn't mean being perfect. She has bad days, doubts, or moments of fear, but she doesn't stay stuck in them. She picks herself up with compassion, not criticism. She learns to self-encourage instead of self-judge. She knows that progress is better than perfection, and every step counts. Over time, growth transforms her presence. She becomes calmer, not because life becomes easier, but because she becomes stronger. She becomes wiser, not because she avoids mistakes, but because she learns from them. She becomes more confident, not because others approve of her, but because she finally knows herself. And people notice, not because she announces her growth, but because it reflects in her behavior, in her peace, in her choices, in the way she carries herself. A high-value woman invests in her growth because she knows something powerful. Who she is becoming matters more than who she was. She is not in competition with anyone. She is building, expanding, evolving, and her journey inspires others without her even trying. Because growth is magnetic, and she chooses it every single day. A high-value woman does not chase people. She attracts the right ones through her energy, presence, confidence, and inner alignment. She understands that forcing connections, begging for attention, or running behind someone who is walking away only leads to emotional exhaustion and loss of dignity. She knows that what truly belongs in her life will meet her halfway, not run from her. Chasing comes from fear. Attracting comes from clarity. When someone chases a relationship, whether romantic, friendship, or professional, they operate from insecurity. What if I lose them? What if I'm not enough? What if they choose someone else? But a woman with self-worth knows that losing someone who doesn't respect, prioritize, or value her is not a loss, it is a blessing. She protects her energy by allowing people to choose her willingly, not conditionally. Imagine a magnet. A magnet doesn't run around trying to stick itself to metal. It simply exists with its natural power, and the right pieces connect. A high-value woman lives like that magnet. Her presence alone attracts people who appreciate integrity, honesty, kindness, maturity, and depth. She doesn't chase because she knows real connections don't need pressure. They need authenticity. When someone truly values her, they show effort, they communicate, they prioritize, they stay consistent. Love and respect are not proven through pursuit. They are proven through aligned behavior. In everyday life, this truth appears in subtle moments. For example, when someone texts her occasionally and disappears again, she doesn't chase or ask, "Why did you stop talking to me?" Instead, she thinks, "If I mattered, consistency would be natural." I don't compete for a place in someone's life. She withdraws her energy gracefully and moves on. Not with anger, but with understanding. In friendships, if she notices she's the only one initiating conversations or keeping the bond alive, she steps back and allows space. She believes that if someone values the connection, they will also contribute. Otherwise, the relationship falls away naturally, without bitterness, without blame. She doesn't chase opportunities either. She prepares herself so well that opportunities begin to notice her. Whether in work, relationships, or life, she believes, "What is meant for me will never require me to beg." She sets her intentions, takes purposeful action, and trusts timing. Not laziness, but confidence. The mindset of not chasing does not mean she is cold, passive, or emotionless. She still loves deeply, appreciates sincerely, and cares wholeheartedly. But she refuses to lose herself in the process. Loving someone should not feel like running a marathon to earn their attention. It should feel like walking side by side. She also knows that attraction is not built through appearance alone. It is built through authenticity. The more she becomes herself, unfiltered, confident, peaceful, and aligned, the more she draws in people who resonate with her true nature. In many ways, her energy silently communicates, "If you want to be here, come with respect, intention, and honesty." She doesn't rush because she knows anything real requires patience. She doesn't cling because she knows desperation repels what she wants. She doesn't panic when something ends because she trusts that endings are often redirection towards something better. One of the most powerful examples is romantic love. Someone immature believes love must be chaste, but a high-value woman knows genuine connection has its own rhythm. Effort flows mutually, communication is direct, and loyalty is natural, not demanded. She wants a partner, not a rescue mission, not a project, and not someone to constantly chase. And if someone withdraws love, attention, or effort, she doesn't fight to keep them. She understands a simple truth. People who want to stay don't leave. People who want to understand don't ignore. People who care don't confuse. So instead of chasing temporary affection, she invests in permanent alignment. Over time, this inner strength makes her presence unforgettable. Those who took her for granted eventually realize she was rare. Those who walked away may try to return, but she does not welcome everyone back. Because she values growth, not repetition. Her value lies not in how many people want her, but in how many people she does not need to chase. She attracts because she is confident. She attracts because she honors herself. She attracts because she is aligned with her truth. A high-value woman understands one powerful principle. When you stop chasing what is not for you, what is meant for you arrives effortlessly. And that is why she chooses alignment over attachment, peace over pursuit, and self-worth over fear. Because she knows the right people don't need to be chased. They recognize her value and choose to stay